Good evening. Apple's biggest milestone yet. Big news? Absolutely. Apple has exported iPhones worth over $50 billion from India by December 2025. Not in 15 years, not in a generation, in just one PLI cycle. This is Front Page by AIM Network. But before, of course, we go ahead and dissect the narrative, smash that like button and, of course, subscribe while you're at it. Because what we're about to tell you isn't on the evening news. What actually happened? The Economic Times published the report. Apple, through its contract manufacturers, crossed the $50 billion mark. But what stood out was the speed at which this happened. In just the first 9 months of fiscal year 2026, nearly $16 billion. The PLI window is still open. The meter is still running. And if you think this is just Apple making money, you are clearly missing the point. By hitting this milestone, India has remarkably evolved its export DNA. In 2015, smartphones were the 167th item on India's export list. Today, ladies and gentlemen, top of the leaderboard. iPhones account for 75% of that. Truly quite an achievement. And of course, it can be very easily understood and applauded as well, from the back of the class to valedictorian. And of course, remember, this was not achieved as a solo act, but as an ecosystem. 5 assembly plants, 3 run by Tata, 2 by Foxconn, and 45 suppliers feeding the beast. And what is also, of course, commendable is when it goes beyond just made in India to a very crucial accolade of plugged into the world. I remember when I was actually reading up on this, I was very, very curious about the comparison, which I guess all of us are also very curious about, which is a collective market love for us to make that particular versus, which is Apple versus Samsung. Ding, ding, the heavyweight bout. Samsung exported about $17 billion worth in its PLI window. Apple, like I said, $50 billion. Honestly, this is a fight where one guy just keeps getting up, but even his corner knows how it ends. Towel anyone? Anyway, but of course, you know what I think we need to wait. We actually need to stop the music and also the applause, because this is what is very important, and we need to have this conversation. Without mincing our words, here is the real truth. The part the politicians don't actually put on the billboard. $50 billion worth is the export value. That is the price on the sticker. It is not the money India keeps. Yes. So to clarify, here is the math nobody likes. Industry estimates suggest India's value addition, well, which is the actual money made here, is currently hovering between 15 and 18%. So when we ship a $1,000 iPhone, we aren't actually keeping $1,000. We are actually importing the screen from South Korea, importing the chip from Taiwan, importing the camera modules, and then we assemble it, we package it, we ship it. Roughly $820 worth of that phone is an import cost. So we end up keeping only about $180. That, of course, dazzling $50 billion headline, in terms of net value retained in the Indian economy, is closer to $9 billion. Still a lot of money, don't get me wrong, but it's not $50 billion. We, of course, are currently the garage where the Ferrari is parked. And of course, the hard truth is, we did not build the engine, or at least not as yet. So the point is, does this water down this particular achievement? No, not at all. It actually makes it step 1. Yeah. The PLI scheme ends in March 2026. The government knows the garage problem that we just alluded to. That is why the narrative is shifting from assembly to components. Semiconductors are next. And if we can make the chips, that 18% aspect that we mentioned, that value addition jumps to 50%, which is the real game changer. Again, numbers will help us navigate this better. Electronics production is up 6 times, exports up 8 times, 25 lakh jobs. And this is what the flywheel aspires to be. But for now, of course, it is time as far as the ritual on front page is concerned, which is the front page take. $50 billion is a signal. It proves India can handle the scale for sure. We have moved from can we do it to how much can we keep. Apple's story moved from assembly to exports. The next sequel needs to be components to chips. And I'm pretty sure you agree that we don't just want to be one of those where we are just going ahead and wanting to box the iPhone. We just don't want to do assemblies anymore. We want to own the insights. And what you're seeing right now, ladies and gentlemen, is India trying to move from assembly to real manufacturing and doing it in full view. We, of course, promise that we will continue to track the narrative wars while you continue to watch the news on front page on the AIM network. Of course, needless to say, like, share, subscribe, and always remember, think AI, think Apple, think AIM.